Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Shiftless. This is part 2 of the three-way between myself, Brad, and DJ Caleb. Rolling this in on the back end, so to speak. We talk a little bit of Spinistry Palooza still. It's a little bit of a Spinistry Palooza wrap up, but it rolls into a bunch of other good content. So without further ado, let's pick up the rest of the conversation, because I think this one's really informative for anybody that's looking to do multi-day backcountry or anything in the Big Bend area specifically.
I can't wait to go back next year. I don't care how many spots there are. There's one less because I'll be there.
Well, that brings up. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you.
And I'm even going to say this live or recorded.
Okay.
I'm game to cook more than one meal next year. To preload more than one meal.
So, from a completely selfish standpoint, what I think we've done 12 basically both years are pretty close to that, right? No, I wasn't taxed. No, I wasn't burdened. But I could definitely see where it doesn't take a whole lot more for... I might be outside my comfort zone. I don't ever see this turning into a 30-person event, a 50-person event.
It's too much work just for you to get to water stop to water stop. It's not like centering in Valley View,
right?
And it takes you 20 minutes to drive to each water stop. It's an hour. How long is it taking you to get? Because I have some questions for you.
Okay.
How long does it take you to get from the first, like day one? We met twice. How long was that drive to get from point to point? Was that an hour for you at least?
Let's see. Day one. I'm sorry. Actually, day one wasn't horrible. It's not my first rodeo, so I kind of know how to plot out logistics like that.
That was my first rodeo.
I went out ahead of y'all to catch you going off on your ride and get a little bit of video footage there.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
With the idea of doubling back to staging area, base camp, picking up the wife and dogs, and then I knew I was going to be able to take a shortcut to the highway from where I saw y'all, zip down the highway, pick them up, and then take them. It was only like 10 minutes from camp to the water table. So that whole process was probably an hour, but I had it planned out in advance to simplify.
The planning was great. I mean, even with 12 people, we were still spread out. Yeah. We were in groups, but those groups were significantly spread out. So it's tough to juggle. You get too many people in that big of a playground, and it's difficult to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, especially when the consequences are fairly high because it's so remote. Like, I understand the burden that Kevin has. I mean, not that he's a babysitter, but you have to cater to the lowest common denominator, if you will. Like, if there's one person that's
you have to be aware of the lowest common denominator.
There's one person that's really struggling way off the back, an hour behind everybody. You've got to make sure that person's safe and counted for, and not just sitting out there baking in the sun, out of water, flat tire, can't fix it, that kind of stuff. I pity you for that factor, but that didn't seem to be an issue this year. Even our slowest two people, I would say, knew all the shortcuts, or seemingly took all the shortcuts and the cut throughs and stuff.
They knew how to self-navigate. And prepare ahead of time for stuff like that. And that's
speaking of which, how about Garrett's map?
That was so awesome.
How tits was that?
I love that.
Yeah.
I might have to buy that from him.
Oh, that's a good souvenir.
I think.
Oh, it would be awesome.
I think you should frame it.
Yeah,
that was so cool, especially even with the addendums on it. I loved it.
Oh, that was the best part.
I loved it.
That was the best part.
You should have seen it.
The first time he pulled that map, I was like, this guy's got a paper map. What year is this? And I thought, why haven't I done that before?
Yeah. But you should have seen his PowerPoint that he printed out. It was. We should have showed that to Kevin.
We need to gift that to him.
Yeah.
He's still got that in his van.
Yes.
He hasn't taken that out yet.
Yeah, Garrett, don't throw that away. We want it.
These yahoos had to. What are we doing? How's this work? What is? Fine. I put together a keynote. I'm not PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I'm a keynote man myself. I'm that guy. So I literally put out an itinerary. I put out an itinerary for everything that was supposed to happen, except for Sunday. And they go, well, "What about Sunday?" And we leave. Well, what time? It's not on the itinerary. It's like, oh no, you guys tell me what time you want to leave.
You were our tour guide. Getting information out of Kevin's. You had been there, done it. You had a different perspective, and you had bonus stuff planned for us. Like Lost Mine had nothing to do with Kevin.
Yeah.
The old Maverick Road down to Santa Helena Canyon had nothing to do with Kevin. You were our Sherpa for that. Our tour guide for that. And so we were really leaning on you for the stuff leading up to the actual event.
If you can, I highly recommend getting down there on a Thursday. If you can get down on Wednesday and wake up Thursday and have all day Thursday, because that's a great opportunity to go in the park. What I did last year is I got in a day early.
Yeah.
And I found a hip camp place that I just wanted to try out at Cowdy Flats, which was great.
Cowdy Crossing.
Mm-hmm. I got up, I guess, Friday morning. Yeah. And drove into the park, and I drove that Old Maverick Road. Old Maverick Road is a 14-mile, fairly well-maintained, fairly well-trafficked.
You know what's funny,
road.
though? The sign says four-wheel drive required.
Because you would be surprised. If someone went out there in a Honda Odyssey with bald tires, they're going to have a hard time.
Well, and if there is any rain out there, it washes out half the road.
Yeah. I will say that the road was in better condition this year than what it was last year. There were several pretty significant, those washouts were in really rough shape.
But it is downhill. The whole way
is downhill,
which means it's uphill the whole way fucking way back.
Yeah. So I drove down there and I hiked the Santa Helena Canyon. I go, okay, if I come back next year, I'm going to ride this again. And then
I think it was a perfect leg opener.
Yeah, it was an easy spin.
Well, you and Donahue, but y'all were trading hits on the way back.
I can't hold these ponies back.
I know, but y'all were both collapsed on the pavement when we got there.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told Donahue on the way back that he's going to jail for animal abuse on all those ponies he was whipping too hard. And then, so if you go and you get done with the Spinistry event, what I did was I took the River Road. I went into the Terralingua entrance, Studio B entrance, and drove south, and then took the River Road south all the way down to Rio Grande Village, and then took the paved road up out and went out the marathon side. And that right there, I think that took me 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
From the time I went in and the time I came out.
That park is expansive, to say the least.
And you can't drive fast, and you don't want to drive fast. You see too many cool things.
We saw a bighorn. Did I show you that picture of that bighorn?
Right there at the entrance, sign.
Shannon showed me the picture.
Yeah, before we ever even got into the park.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. That's not something you see.
No.
I mean, you could go in that park every day for weeks and never see one.
The majority of the wildlife you're going to see is in the basin.
Yeah.
That majority of the wildlife I saw. That first day, when I went last year and I hiked the Window Trail alone, I saw 3 snakes, a tarantula, a scorpion, all kinds of birds. And then outside that, I hardly saw anything.
Speaking of snakes, Garrett was extremely disappointed that we didn't see a snake. He was like, this shit, there's no fucking snakes out here.
Yeah, this guy wanted to play with a rattlesnake.
I get it. Well, I get it.
He's never kissed a rattlesnake before. I can't believe that.
It was a little odd. It may have been. It had just been cold enough for them to burrow up for a bit, and not warm enough for them to come back out yet.
I figured we'd see one on Sunday. I figured Sunday was the day because it had been warm the day before. And then it was overcast, and I figured they'd be coming out looking around, trying to warm up a little bit.
But that said, the instincts of those animals are usually pretty good. So if they were already burrowed up and they didn't come out, that tells me it's probably going to be a cold stretch coming.
I hope so. Speaking of which, we're supposed to be tomorrow's the last day in the 80s for the 10-day.
Okay.
And then it's going to be highs in the 60s and low 70s for the next 10 days.
Okay.
That's what I saw the last time I looked. That shit changes every 5 minutes. But
it does.
I'm pretty excited about that. We're supposed to get rain on Thursday, too.
I have heard. Actually, a pretty good bit, right?
I hope so.
Now, I did want to touch on something that you somewhat alluded to there about, Kevin not giving out a lot of information on the...
I'm giving you shit.
No, it's completely intentional.
Yeah.
That's somewhat of a gate on my end.
Yeah.
If somebody can't deal with that,
I
plenty of information for anybody to make the trip and survive it, no issues.
Survival guide is what it is. It's not entertainment guide.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with my dinners.
Man, again, I don't know how many times we talked about, but there's so much similarity in what we do.
I mean, because I like the aspect of the surprise, and I'm the same way. You know, when we go to the events, I don't want too much information because I'm going to do it regardless.
Right.
You know, if I show up, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep going, and keep going. Cuss later. You know, I don't need to know, and I don't ever want to know exactly. Like if we're at this point, it's very rare. Like I'm usually struggling if I go, how many more miles are left? How much further? You know, like Sunday, I stayed
on map mode on my Garmin the whole time.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I would look just to not to go. Oh my God, how many miles left? It's like where are we?
Just
like,
to get a sense
to get a sense of where I'm at. Yeah, if you have to have your hand held, and you have to know every bit of information, this is not the event.
Yeah,
no. You have to have the sense of mystery and the sense of adventure. Like that's. And self-reliance. You got to be okay with not being.
Adam said the most poignant thing to me one time on a ride, and I have said it 100 times since. As we'll be in the middle of a ride, and somebody will go, "Man, we got 20 miles left," and Adam will go, "You've ridden your bike 20 miles before. Let's do it."
Yeah,
and that's a fun little mentality kind of exercise for me. A lot of times when I'm like, "Damn, we've already ridden 45 miles, and we still have 16 miles to go, or whatever it is," and I go, I've ridden 16 miles before. We can do this, you know? Yeah. That's a good way to kind of think about it, I think.
I didn't even mention this in the car. I tested something. I was listening to a podcast, and there was a guy on there who does a lot of adventure racing and backpacking. He was a mechanic for World Tour road race guys, and he said if you're out bikepacking, or whether you're racing or you're just in an endurance situation and something happens to your bike and you have to stop and get off and fix something, I wasn't necessarily in the mind. Well, I was absolutely not in the mindset of irritation or frustration or panic. But when my tire punctured, the first thing I did when I got off my bike and got control of the water coming out, or not water, I'm looking at your pool.
Yeah, sorry.
As the air, let me back up. My tire got punctured. I stopped the bleeding. I was able to at least get some stands in it to stop it. You know, the first thing I did was, it wasn't remove my toolkit. It was to grab a granola bar.
Yeah.
This guy said, if you're in a situation and you know you're going to have to think, don't immediately start working on the problem. Put some food in your belly.
Yeah.
Take a drink, take some food, and it will readjust your mind. And again, I wasn't panicked or upset or mad or frustrated. I was like, okay, this is something I'm going to have to figure out. But we had just gotten up the Mesa climb. It was the very top of that climb. I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to get my mind right on fixing this problem. And man, it worked.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to try to use that in a situation to where
you ran calories in your bottles too.
I did the second day because I got tailwind from you. The first day I had just water, and so I was just eating solid foods.
Yeah, I was fueling primarily on tailwind. I did like a scoop and a half, almost 2 scoops per bottle.
I get to a point where I can't do any more sweets, and sometimes I do like tailwind. But
that's why I run the naked, the unflavored or whatever.
Was that unflavored? I feel like I could taste the sugar in it, or the whatever the sweetener is in it.
Yeah.
I think it was the dark berry.
Blackberry. Either way, I love it. It works very well with my stomach. Anything else that I try to do liquid wise, about hour 3, my stomach will just nod
this
up.
This episode brought to you by Tailwind.
Dude, if I could get sponsored by Tailwind, I would be elated. Adam's actually the one that turned me on to Tailwind, and as soon as I started drinking that, I was like, I'm never messing with anything else.
Yeah.
And once again, like we talked about, fueling is totally personal.
Yep.
But the only reason I bring that up is because I made it a point every day, even Maverick, when we were doing that, my motto is drink early, drink often. And I think we've talked about this before, but long time ago, when I was trying to put in base miles to train up for bigger events, I would set a timer on my Garmin. Every 10 minutes it would chime, and I would drink whether I needed to or not.
Yeah.
And
if you wait to drink when you're thirsty, you're in a bad spot.
Yeah. There was a couple of times where I was hungry and my stomach would start growling. I'm like, oh, I got to eat like now.
Yeah.
And at that point it's almost too late too, but I was benefited because I was still taking in calories, through my fluids. But I think the most important thing on something like that is to stay in front of everything. And like I said before, fuel what works for you. Don't train one way and then think, oh, well, I'm just going to eat this. If you don't ever eat that and ride, that's not a good plan, So
also recommend some kind of satellite tracker, or be with someone and don't get away from someone that doesn't.
Because there's no recommendation. I mean, there's no way I can force people to do it.
Yeah.
Everyone's an adult out there, but if you're not out there with a satellite tracker, you're stupid.
So our group there were 5 of us in mine and Brad's group. We had 3 trackers total. But all 5 of us are very experienced in doing what we were doing. And I was behind those guys. I'd stopped and take a picture at the top of the mesa when I got that flat, prior to that flat. And I'd stop and take a picture. And they were already long bombed down that hill. So I was the last one to go over. And then I got the puncture. And they didn't know that I was behind them. But
no, we did.
You did?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah.
But you didn't know why I had stopped. But
falling back.
Yeah. But if I had wrecked, if I had gotten hurt, I wouldn't have panicked. I had something to be able to communicate. At least I could I could tell my wife what was going on, or I could call for help or whatever. And don't go into something like that. Spend the money. Have that peace of mind. At least, or make sure you're with a buddy that has one, and you know how to operate it as well.
You know how to operate it. Test it before the day before. Make sure everything's working properly. Make sure your account's caught up.
You are. If I'd gone down instead of having a flat and was behind, how long would it have taken somebody to get there? If I'd broken my leg, how long would it take?
See, then that's the deal. There is no cell coverage. None. Zip. Zero.
Yes. Don't
delude yourself thinking it'll work. Maybe if you're lucky, or that Kevin or Jan's gonna. Well, they'll come and get me if I'm. Yes. But if somebody doesn't show up, we're going to go backwards on the course and look.
Yeah, but it could be 3 hours.
It could be 4 or 5 hours easily.
Yeah, because they don't know where you are.
Yeah.
But it became very apparent to me, at least while I was digesting everything when we were driving home. I'm traditionally kind of a Luddite when it comes to, I don't run a heart rate monitor. I don't have a cadence sensor. I don't have power meter. I ran an E-Trex that I bought from Truman that sadly is about to give up the ghost. The power button has it's just a hole now.
You've outgrown the E-Trex.
Yeah. And so
Garmin doesn't even support half of them anymore.
Yeah. So it's an E-Trex 20 that I bought from Truman before he passed. And so it has a lot of sentimental value to me.
I get that.
But I mean, I'm not going to throw it away, but I think it's going to have to, I'm either going to have to buy a broken E-Trex with an intact case and transfer all the guts and continue to use it, or I need to move on. But either way, my next move is to get like a Garmin InReach or whatever the cool kids are doing nowadays. And then probably a different head unit for better navigation and stuff.
You said you've got the Solar 1040, right?
I do. I just upgraded this year.
Yeah.
My 1030.
And you were talking about you were actually gaining.
Yeah. I fully charged Thursday night.
Yeah.
Was fully charged. So we rode Friday. It was on most of the day. Friday, most of the day.
Yeah.
And then when I stopped tracking at the lodge, 91%.
Yeah.
I gained, in those 2 days, day and a half of riding, I gained 3 hours of ride time. And then Sunday alone, when we rolled into Littleboro, I had 84%. So that's 84% power left on a device that had been running for
3-day weekend,
almost 4 days.
Yeah.
And I'm a Wahoo guy, but Wahoo does not have a solar option that would almost be enough to sway me over.
And when we got to the lodge, I don't know if you saw, there was that perfect little tiny tabletop rock that was in front of. I took it off, even if it's powered off. I think if it's powered, I'm pretty sure
it does.
I set it down on that rock facing up to keep charging. Yeah. It will charge with any sun.
What's the MSRP on that thing?
I got it on a Black Friday sale, so I don't know. I can look it up real quick. I did.
Hey, Jamie, look that up for us.
Jamie's going to look that up. Hey, Jamie.
I'm just curious because, I mean, I do want to upgrade my electronics. I'm not as cheap as Kevin, but I'm not as spendy as you.
I didn't pay full price for
I'm
it.
in the middle here.
Well,
but
I mean, Caleb and I both got the same InReach Messenger last year.
Yeah,
Actually,
I
the
got that
same deal.
yeah, we did. We jumped on the same deal.
That's not what yours is. That
There's
little
two different-
puck.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the InReach Messenger.
That's the messenger. Yeah.
But do you have to interface with that through an app?
Yes.
Yes.
Because there's no screen
Well,
on that.
you can do it without the app.
Well, did you hear me? Tick, 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 I was tapping because my phone was out of.
But I wasn't
out of
paying
battery.
attention, so I didn't
You
really
can-
see.
you can
So
do
does it have a
this-
screen on it?
That's a tiny screen.
It's got
Oh.
just a little
Yes.
LCD.
It's
Do you want to hit SOS? Yes, I do.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. That's definitely not supposed to be the primary interface that you
Yeah.
work with. It's a backup, just like what happened with me. My actual iPhone ran out of power because I forgot to
Yeah.
charge it the night
Yeah.
before. But then that's a cool backup. That's a cool feature.
Well,
because I can still communicate with people, and you can have up to 7 pre-programmed. So I can hit 2 buttons.
Yeah.
And have like 1, 2. And I can send my wife, I'm stopping, but I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
done for the day, and you can customize.
Also,
as
don't
much as
forget, you can use the Messenger as a battery backup to your
you
phone.
can reverse it, and I didn't do that because I didn't have the right cord. So I can that battery that InReach Messenger battery works really, really well. Holds a charge. I didn't recharge that the whole time.
Yeah.
When we got done,
Yeah.
I had 47.
Yeah, we charged it on the way up there. I remember plugging it in. Yeah.
You can reverse charge it. I could recharge my phone off that.
Can you through charge with it? Like if you were running it in a generator situation, can you plug, or does it
No,
only
it
have
has
one?
It has one. And you have to, I think you have to turn on the reverse charge. It's an actual function within.
So here's my question, because of my ignorance into all of this. What's the unit that Garrett had that has the little stub antenna? That's
So-
a Garmin as well.
That's the InReach.
InReach. So here's why I asked that, because Kyle and Cameron had little Walmart walkie-talkies, and he said that the range on that was like 16 miles.
What is it, GMRS radios or whatever?
Yeah, he said they were like $30
It's
walkie-talkies.
It's what all the overlanders use.
So here's my question is, does Garmin make a unit that does all of that and acts as like a walkie-talkie so you can communicate with people that are around you?
I don't think they have direct or direct message or
that would
direct
be-
communication.
not
That would be a
I'm aware of.
kick-ass
No.
unit.
But
Like,
that's Garmin. I love Kevin and I can debate Garmin and Wahoo. I probably will always be a Garmin guy. But what I don't like, so this is what is absolutely absurd. I have the InReach Messenger. My wife or anyone that I send the link to can see where I'm at all times.
my wife.
It is my wife.
My wife.
Yeah, my wife. I can message her, but I have to do it through the Explorer or the Garmin Messenger app. But here's the insanity part, and this is the shitty part about this product. I can't see where I'm at.
Yeah.
I can't use that particular device to look to see where I'm at on a map. Now, if you have the InReach Mini, which is the little handheld that has the antenna on it that
Like Garrett has?
like I think Garrett had, you can see where you are
What's
because there's
the-
a different app that you use with it.
Well,
What's the
Garmin
MSRP
has
on that?
The Mini 2 is $390. It's $400.
no,
That's
you
not
can
bad.
see on your phone. You can see where you're at.
No. Yeah, but
if-
I called them and walked through them and told them because I went to Colorado a couple weeks ago, met some friends and took my son, and we were trying to locate the trailhead of a particular mountain, and I could not use my InReach Messenger to figure out where I was. I actually had to pull out my I had pulled out my 1040 to navigate around, and I called Garmin and I said, "Why do I have this device that I can't use the mapping app to see where I'm at?" And they said, "Well, if you want to do that, you need to upgrade to the InReach Mini, which runs on a completely different app."
I'm 99% sure that I was able to see my tracks on the app last year, but I haven't used it in that functionality in quite a while.
Well, even if you use even though you set up your device using the Explorer app is not compatible with the InReach unless they've changed from 2 months ago when I called them.
Well, I'm thinking they changed since last year is what I'm getting at. But it may have been the Connect app I was able to see. I can't remember. Maybe it was I don't know. It doesn't matter because I don't rely on the Messenger for my navigation purposes at all. I got that only for communication and SOS functionality. I originally had the Spot two-way tracker with the text capability. But one thing that was nice about that one was that it just worked like a phone number or an email. I can't remember if it's email address or phone number that I could just send out to anybody or put it in an email. If you need to get in touch with me, message this. The Garmin two-way satellite messenger, you have to send a message specifically to somebody, and they have to reply to that specific address that Garmin sends them.
So we're talking about a lot of different things here.
Well,
I want to just put a little stop real quick and just address like my situation, which I think a lot of people are in.
Because it's all about you.
No.
No, because
I think this is more digestible.
He and I are more nerdy about this shit than most people are.
And here's what I'm getting at. Like a guy like me that's ready to like essentially start from scratch in an electronic with the current day offerings. What's the best thing for me to get? Now, I understand you always want to run redundance, right? But currently, this is how Luddite my system setup is. I'm running an eTrex 20, and I don't record or anything on that. I put the track on there, which is... It seems like it takes more steps than it should.
It does.
And then I do my Strava on my phone, which is not the most accurate. But you can do it even in airplane mode, so it doesn't just destroy your battery and all that. But if I was going to start from scratch, like what do I need to be looking at? Should I look at the InReach?
Let me go first, and then
go ahead.
I'll do it from a promoter's perspective, but then I would like to
I love that.
hear it from a participant's perspective.
Because I am legitimately in this thought process right now.
And we're talking about covering all the bases, including SOS functionality and satellite tracking.
Absolutely.
I'm just wanting to make sure.
Yeah, thanks, Ron Wadley.
So first off, personally, from a navigation device, Wahoo, Garmin, whatever your preference is there, maybe even Hammerhead.
I like the Hammerhead. On paper, I like it. I have not messed with one.
There's battery life issues, which goes against what you tend to do on your type of. If you're a 2 hour,
but the two has solar, doesn't it?
If it does, it's new.
Okay.
I know it's been the prevailing biggest complaint about the Hammerhead unit is if you ride more than 2 hours, you're probably going to be unhappy.
Is that the Karoo?
I think so.
I think so. No, the Karoo's their little one, isn't it? They make two different sizes, right? Look it up, Jamie.
I'm not going to say Wahoo or Garmin. I'm just whatever your preference is, and I think even Lezyne does it. And there's some, there's some Chinese no-name ones that are out there and so forth. But I would say go Wahoo or Garmin. The biggest thing those bring to the table is with a Ride with GPS account, like when you click on that link for the Spinistry event and add those routes to your own personal library on Ride with GPS, it'll automatically load to your device at that point. It's automatically retrievable.
So a Garmin head unit or a Wahoo head unit. Okay.
For navigation and tracking purposes for day-to-day riding, and it also works well out.
And what's the 1080S? You were going to get us MSRP on that.
1080S.
That's the one you have, right?
Yeah, $750, but I did not pay that. I think I bought it over the holidays.
Well,
and got
let's just say it's a $700 unit.
It's $750 for the solar, $600 for the non-solar.
Yeah,
but the 840 Edge comes in at $550, which is a great option.
Yeah.
And
solar is
you and I are definitely headed down the same path as far as opinions. But you continue.
Yeah.
Okay. So I definitely say rely on a head unit for navigation specifically. That said, download all of the routes to your phone on Ride with GPS, because you can download those for offline use.
Sure.
So if your battery dies, if it craps out in the middle of nowhere, you lose it, you have a crash or whatever, your head unit's gone, you can still navigate out of there with Ride with GPS on your phone in airplane mode, and it's not going to gobble up the battery. What I recommend is just doing turn-by-turn audio. A lot of people that do our rides, they'll still use their Garmin or their Wahoo, but then they'll use their bone-conducting headphones or earbuds and just listen to the turn-by-turn navigation from the ride. That uses no battery, no screen on or anything like that. It could just
but I hate a woman telling me where to turn.
Okay, whatever works for you.
Well, you didn't like me telling where you could turn, and I definitely don't have a woman's voice.
Now, once you start getting to the satellite tracker /SOS aspect of it, there's kind of an A and B situation. If your point is that you just want to have SOS capability and send where you are to others that are out in the world, if you're leaning that way, my recommendation is probably going to be a Spot device, the Spot tracker.
And can we just talk about the initial investment versus the subscription price?
Well, that's exactly why, because it's more economical.
Okay.
And just for tracking an SOS, Spot works really well.
And what's the initial investment on, and what gen are they on right now?
So we're on Gen 4 for the just
Spot tracker.
There's the Spot Trace, which is only sends out your location. There's no way to communicate with it.
Right.
The Gen 4, there's what they have a flex plan that you pay a little bit more, but you can suspend it, which is what you can do that on both accounts.
Yeah. What's the unit cost? What's the initial investment?
I want to say it's it's $50 off right now. It's $99, which means they're getting ready to do a Gen 5.
Yeah.
So I would expect a Gen 5 to come out. But I will say I had the Gen 2, I think is what I had for several years, the same one that Shannon has. And so this is the Gen 4. So it's 2 generations ahead, and it definitely, just by looking at it, I can see just interface improvement, physical interface. It doesn't have a screen on it.
God, $99. Why wouldn't I just buy one right now?
Because
what's the limiting factor of that versus?
Well, let me go to the B mode.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If you're just looking for SOS functionality and tracking, economically, Spot's the way to go, and it does a really good job of that.
And before you move on, what's the subscription service on that one?
I'm $12 a month on my Spot.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So he's doing the there's basic and flex basement. Flex basic. He doesn't need the flex because he's constantly using it. But what
$12 a month is nothing for that peace of mind, right?
No.
And then you pay another price on top of that for extraction?
No. They have some add-ons, right? So they have emergency insurance on it to where you can pay an additional. Well, Kevin, you correct me because you're currently using
Garrett told me it's like $240 a year, and if you push that button, they come and get you, and it's no charge. That's what Garrett told me.
I don't think it's no charge. I think it covers you up to.
I could have misunderstood it.
Yeah.
Well, it's also not that black and white.
Sure.
So there's multiple retrieval options out there depending on which agency or which service retrieves you. It'll offset at least some of the costs.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So that really goes. The insurance aspect that's something you can pick up for extraction for anything anywhere.
Sure.
Both Garmin and Spot roll that in. Here's a way you can get insurance, but it's just like going to Ron Walker.
Sorry to keep sidetracking you. You continue, and then at the end, I want you to just treat me like I'm a toddler and say you need to get this and this.
But it doesn't work that way, and that's why I'm giving you the A and the B. So that's what I'm saying. If your A is you just want tracking and SOS functionality, I say my recommendation is go with the Spot. It's simple to use, it's cheaper, and it works.
And then tell me the B.
The B, if you want two-way messaging capability where you can text people and say, hey, this is going on, just to let you know. If you want to get weather updates via satellite, since you have no phone service, things like that, that's how I ended up with the Garmin InReach Messenger. And it works exceptionally well for that. I had the Spot two-way tracker prior to that didn't work really well. It was kind of clunky. And what made what sold me on the InReach platform for that type of communication, we did have an emergency situation at the furthest end of Big Bend National Park one time where we did have to bring in help.
Yeah.
And one of the people on our team had the InReach Messenger, and it was just like a text conversation with her husband. He was in New Mexico. He was communicating with the park. They were communicating back to him, and he was communicating back to Jan. And instead of just hitting that SOS, which there's a lot of variability, make no mistake, we would have hit the SOS if we had no other option.
Sure.
This gave us another option, which was ultimately a better fit for the situation, which we wouldn't have had those options with only an SOS button. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I have one more sidebar question. I'm sorry to keep sidetracking.
No, please do.
But like in Caleb's situation with his current technology, and granted that none of us had cell signal out there, and most of us had our phones in airplane mode anyways because we knew we didn't have a signal, and we're just conserving battery life. If he's 5 miles behind us and he has an incident, he can send out a message, but it's not going to get to us.
It could if you had the same device.
That's what I was wondering.
If you have that two-way satellite messenger, but there's a lot of caveats on that and that's what I was talking about before, with the Garmin system.
Mm-hmm.
You have to set all that up in advance. We have to be on the same message chain and authorized to communicate with each other. Whereas if I were on the Spot two-way messaging system, I could just already know what everyone's email address or phone number was or whatever else. Or if you were on those systems or whatever.
Can you communicate spot to spot?
You can communicate spot to spot. You can communicate Garmin to Garmin. Spot to spot or spot to text or spot to email, hypothetically, it's just like using a regular text device. You can do it anytime to anyone. The issue with that, though, is my Spot two-way tracker was way too finicky. Mm-hmm. And you'll send a message, and you'll sit around for 30 minutes twiddling your thumb. Did anybody get that message or not? Garmin...
So, just to be clear, though, the Spot Gen 4 or
does not do that.
Or the Gen 3, it is not a two-way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's a two-way in the sense that you can pre-program a certain amount of responses.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's just send out, and you're not going to even know.
You could push a button, and it's going to send an automated text and or email.
And that's
to as
what I
many
get
people
from
as you
Shannon.
want. Right. I'm moving. I'm okay. I need help, but I'm not in an emergency. Now, Spot does have the Spot X, which is it's their answer to the InReach Mini. It has a keyboard on top of it's big and it's bulky.
And it works with an app as well.
Like this is the message that I get from Shannon. And for some reason it was even more messed up this time. But it just says from no reply, blah, blah, blah. And it just says Sky is that just checking in, I'm okay.
Yep, that's a it's already built in. That's not even customized.
But Garmin has those as well. And you can set up pre-formatted messages that do that, and Spot lets you.
And I'm to assume this is his coordinates?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So more than likely, if you were on an Android, you could click on that and it would take you.
Fuck you and your Android. So, are you finished with your B option, or are you still?
I think so. I thought there was. Well, I mean, ultimately, if you're interested in the Spot two-way messenger, I will give you my old one, but I would not recommend that to anyone.
No,
not for. Well, I'll wait until my turn.
Yeah,
because I think it's a need. It's a situational thing. If you're doing a Spinistry 100K ride, all this is overkill probably.
Sure.
Right. Or if you're going to
the only reason I would carry it on a Spinistry ride like that is just to get more familiar with it. You know, you're right, it's overkill.
But if you're going in a remote area, if you're going bikepacking and you know there's not going to be cell signal, it's not worth going out there and getting yourself in a situation that you could be helped if you don't put yourself in a situation that you could easily find help, but you can't because you didn't do this one simple thing.
So my short answer is this.
This is the short answer.
Well, you asked. You're the one that
I did. It was a multi-layer
as short
question.
as possible. There is no short answer to it.
There is no short answer. If basic functionality is all you're really focused on, and budget is a big limiter for you, probably the Spot is your better solution with being budget conscious, as long as you're just fine with SOS and basic messaging. Yeah. I'll let you take it from there.
So going back to our first question about the crew, let's get that out of the way. I have no knowledge of it whatsoever, but I looked it up, and apparently the crew works great if you're not using it as navigation. If you're just using it to ride and capture your data or whatever as you're riding, apparently the battery works great. But they don't even talk about the battery life on their site. They talks about all the things that it does. And I'm reading here that if you're navigating, it's 8 to 7% per hour.
Oh wow!
Which is
that's substantial.
Oh yeah. That's you're
hemorrhaging
power.
An ultra endurance navigation,
and that's on top of everything else that it's consuming. I'm sure. Okay, so that's out.
So I used the Spot for several years. I upgraded. It was just time to retire it and move on to something else because I wanted a little more. No pun intended. I wanted more reach for what I could do with it.
Sure.
I like that it pairs with my cycling, with my 1040.
Mm-hmm.
When someone sends me a
1040
message.
or 1080? 1040?
It's a 1040.
Okay.
1040 solar.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
That's what you said earlier, but then when you were talking about it the last time, he said
sorry.
1080. And
all these damn.
you agreed.
That's okay.
All these fancy things. 1040 solar.
Yeah.
If I get a message sent to that device, it'll show up on my screen. So I never even really have to. It sits in my cycling bag as a kind of a direct, shot to the sky. At this point, with solar being viable for cycling computers, and it's proven that it works, it's not a gimmick anymore. Because when they first came out, it was like, well, how much does it really work? Yeah, it's kind of adding some, like.
And is the 1040 touchscreen?
Yes.
Okay.
There was the one bad review I read about the 1040 solar is that the screen wasn't quite as bright as the non-solar, but I knew that Nipper had gotten one, so I messaged him. He said, "No, I don't have a problem with it."
Yeah.
Dana said they don't have a problem with the brightness. So
what about in wet?
No, that doesn't. It's not an issue anymore.
Okay.
That used to be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, when it rains, I'm sorry, it can be a problem.
Yeah.
I just touched the lock.
Yeah.
If you tap the battery button once, it locks the screen, so water droplets and it didn't get on it.
So you love the 1040S? Would recommend?
I would, and they make an 840 solar.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at with the solar thing is,
I'm already sold. You can quit selling.
Well, you asked
on the solar.
You asked us to sell. Well, you don't have to do solar, but it's one less thing to worry about when you're out in the middle of nowhere. Is well, shit. I gotta figure out how to. Like I haven't plugged in.
We run a
I've
generator
got a
hub.
I haven't used it.
Yeah.
I don't use it. The only thing I use to generate is light on my front light.
Yeah.
I have not reverse powered anything because of this. Because of the solar.
Yeah.
Just to go through.
So what's the benefit over the 1040 over the 840? Why in a nutshell, did you choose?
Well, I don't think they had the 840 at the time.
Okay.
The biggest reason is because I had the 1030 prior, which is the same size.
Okay. So you're a size queen?
Size matters.
Yeah. Size does matter. Let's talk shit about Kevin while he's in the bathroom. Single speed should not have its own category.
It should not. No.
It's one of the dumbest, drunkest things I've heard.
Why are we doing this in this day and age? Why are we giving in to the pressure? Man, it's difficult to get all this in a supposedly hour and a half podcast.
Yeah.
We should have a podcast or
about
episode
navigation
only about this because once you decide on the device, then you have to decide on the plan, right?
Yeah. Wait, your 1040 doesn't require plan,
The 1040 doesn't, but the InReach does.
Yeah.
Okay, and the plans are based on the amount of messages that you send, right? Because this is America, and it's we're in a capitalist society, so that's fine.
So let's say I go with the same unit that Garrett has.
Yeah.
And in a very quick quip, what's the benefit of that over what you have?
Because I believe his has a keyboard on it. Right? Did he have the keyboard?
I don't think it does.
I'm not very familiar with that. I can. So
I need to look at Garmin's website.
The messenger. Here's what I don't like, and this is Garmin being silly.
Yeah.
They call it a messenger, but you can't really message. You can message on it, but it's not really.
Yeah.
They have a problem internally with their marketing and how they name things, but it's not cheap on their service. They have what? So on my little hockey puck.
Mm-hmm.
They have for $15 a month. It's the safety. It's unlimited SOS. It's 10 text messages a month, and I'm telling you right now that's stupid.
Yeah.
Don't do the safety.
Yeah.
The recreation, it goes up to 40, and I reactivated it a couple of months ago to go on that camping trip in Colorado, and I blew through 40 messages the first day, just coordinating with the guys we were meeting, coordinating, letting my wife know where we are. You go through that really quick.
Yeah.
That's $35 a month. And then the expedition is $64 a month, but I don't mind paying that for like.
I've never even been on an expedition.
I know. One of these days you'll grow up and be a real boy.
If you're on the month-to-month plan, the expedition is worth it if you're going on a big trip and just not even worry about how many messages you're sending.
And but I pay an additional $34 a year on top of that to be on what they call the Freedom Plan, which is the Flex Plan, so I can suspend it. Yeah. Right. I only pay
for when you're using it.
I activated it in September for that camping trip. Did not pay for October. Yeah. Activated it in November for this trip. Right. Okay. So I only it's a monthly thing, but it's unlimited texts, unlimited check-ins.
Unlimited weather.
Your tracking goes from 10 minutes to 2 minutes, which is pretty significant. If you get if you fall off a cliff,
it's a big difference in the search area.
Think about how fast we're bombing those hills, how far we'll go in 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like when we were tracking the rat this year, the people that were pinging every 5 minutes or less, it was for me, it was so much more peace of mind than the people that were pinging even the 10-minute ones. Because all these satellite trackers, just because it pings every 10 minutes, doesn't mean that signal is going to go out. If particularly if you have it in a bag or something like that, or it's swinging around on, underneath your handlebar bag, or you may miss a couple of updates along the way, and then all of a sudden you've got
that makes sense.
30 minutes of dead zone.
So, what does the little puck thing that you have? What is that? What's the entry point for that? What's the price on that?
I believe that was.
And then you said the one that Garrett has is like $399.
Yeah. Sorry.
And how many levels up is that, or is that just the
next?
It's
not even. It's a completely different device.
It's not even an upgrade.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, they keep they.
You could see how this is hard.
It is. It is confusing.
It's very hard.
Under Garmin's handheld satellite communicators, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What's the most
6, 7? They have 7 different devices.
And what's the most expensive one, and what's the cheapest one? Just out of curiosity.
Well, they do different things. The Tread is for a vehicle, and that goes up to $600. But that's touch screen. I mean, it's like a small iPad.
For bike, it's Messenger, InReach Mini, and then InReach. Those are really your three that you're looking at.
So the InReach Messenger is $300, but Kevin and I both got ours for like $150, almost half. I think is when we bought it.
It was a Black Friday special. It was a brand new product, and I think there was an REI kicker on it too.
You're right. It was an REI. REI had a discount on it too, and then the InReach Mini 2. It just gives you a little more options on it. The battery life, I think it's like a 2-week battery life. It's an insane battery life.
I think the Messenger has a longer battery life.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Hey, we have access to Garmin through Expert Voice.
Yes, we do. I think that's how I think Expert Voice followed a Black Friday deal on top of their discount. So I got a pretty significant.
What is Expert Voice?
Expert Voice is a kind of an aggregated. It's a shopping site that you can get through your cycling team or club, or it basically gives you almost like sponsorship level discounts.
Oh, okay.
And there's probably 300 brands on there that we can get.
It is.
Like we get Smith sunglasses for like 40% off.
It's 20% off across the board on Garmin.
Yes.
So the InReach Mini 2 Compact satellite communicator with ... is $319 instead of $399.
How much is the Messenger there?
Probably be around probably 210.
Because I
$239.
I lean to the Messenger myself for multiple reasons. Longer battery life, from what I remember, but maybe a newer InReach Mini may have a longer battery life. The big deal was that the form factor of that puck, the whole face.
1040S $599.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
No,
the whole face on the Messenger is an antenna, as opposed to the stub on the InReach Mini. So we're back to that's the big difference on that Messenger. When you send a message, it goes out. When somebody sends you a message, it comes in. That's a big deal. So I have both the Spot and the InReach Messenger both. And my delineation is, if I'm going to be out,
Do you carry both of them all the time?
I have both available to me all the time.
Okay.
And what I take with me at a given time is, if it's basically a day trip where I'm going to be back in cell service that same day, I'm fine with the Spot.
Yeah.
If it's a multi-day trip where I'm going to be, it may be overnight or 2 or 3 days before I have data again or cell service or whatever, I'll usually do the Garmin. It's not so much for me to send messages; it's for me to get messages. That's a big difference.
Okay.
So, in a nutshell, if you want to look at it from the most basic to the most advanced, right? The Spot's going to be your most basic option.
Okay.
Most cost-effective option, but with a lot of limitations on security.
Okay.
The Messenger, InReach Messenger, is going to be the middle ground, and then the Mini is going to be the larger one because it has all the bells and whistles. But it's bulkier. It's a little bit heavier.
It's harder to use.
It is harder to use. I think it is. I think that the great thing about even though the messenger was a pain in the ass to set up.
Yeah, it was. And that's just Garmin. But everything's a pain in the ass to set up.
But it's worth it.
But once it was set up, it's been a dream.
And it works flawless.
Yes,
I don't get errors. The issue with the Spot was just like you didn't really know if it was tracking you or not. Like you would press a button and you gotten really no
feedback, no confirmation.
Sometimes it would turn green, sometimes it would flash red, but red didn't necessarily mean it wasn't working. It meant that it wasn't had a clear signal yet.
Something.
I view these devices like I would any important piece of my kit. Like I'm not. If someone's going, man, I want to save some money so I can upgrade my tent. Yeah, you're talking about upgrading your tent, but you don't have something like this.
Yeah. This. You may not survive.
That's exactly right. Like I can't recommend enough postponing. Don't upgrade your sleeping pad. Don't upgrade your tent. Like look into something.
What sleeping pad?
Yeah, exactly. You don't even own one. This guy had to teach him how to get in a tent this weekend.
No, you didn't.
How do I get in this tent?
My sleeping pad died before we even left on the trip, and then my pillow died on like first 10 minutes of the trip.
Guys.
And then Shannon and I bought our pillows at the same time, and his died the very next night.
Oh, did y'all have matching pillowcases?
No, we don't. I don't use a pillowcase. I drool all over the pillow and raw dog it.
Oh boy.
Now we're coming up on Black Friday again, so I would highly recommend. When is it? So
it's the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know. So they do Cyber Monday the Monday after, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so this.
But brands are starting to do that earlier.
They're doing it earlier now.
Get your attention, right?
I just want to make sure this episode's going to be out. So this episode will go out next week. So so anyone listening to this, this is a really good time of year to buy these devices. And wait for those deals to come.
Not to be all gushy and sensitive, but like you owe it to your family.
Yeah,
no doubt.
And this is the greatness of my wife. She understands that I want to go out and do these crazy things, and she doesn't have a problem with it. But I owe her the security to know where I'm at and where I'm going as a trade-off. It's not fair. It's not fair to treat your loved ones. He's out in the middle of Big Bend, and I have no idea where he's at for 3 days. That's not fair to your family. We
see, my wife doesn't worry like that.
Well, she's not necessarily worried, but what if she needs to get in hold of me?
Yeah.
What if something happens back home?
What if something happens where you need to come home?
And that's the security. And I know it's like, well, does that beat the spirit of being off grid? I'm telling you, people that are going out and they're doing the Tour Divide, they got ways to communicate too.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going out there completely dark.
Oh, yeah.
The idea of you can still have that feeling of being off the grid and being out and having an adventure, but man, it's not worth getting yourself. It's not worth getting yourself dead over.
Dude, I'm not on the other side of this argument.
I know we're not arguing with that. I'm talking about people who are listening that are trying to it never dawned on them how important it is to be able to communicate.
People rationalize to themselves all the time why they shouldn't make these investments. You need to find what's true in your situation and adhere to that. Yeah. And if you're doing rides like this, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need to have a satellite tracking SOS device.
Yeah. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to need something like that.
You're going to need communication of some sort or another at some point. Now, one thing I do want to throw into the mix to not really muck it up, but I know some people are probably already yelling at their podcast platform going, oh, but I've got the newest iPhone, so I've got satellite SOS. It's not the same thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to end the conversation there. We're not even going to go down that path. Well, if you have it, okay, you've got a tertiary backup just in case sort of thing.
It also is a battery hog. Yeah. And an iPhone is not meant to last like these devices are.
A wiser man than me once said, if you're relying on your phone for anything when you're out in the middle of anywhere, you're already screwed.
Well, that's it. But iPhone 14 and now 15 do have satellite SOS capability. So that
when
part
I was
is cool.
out there, I'd never seen it before, but up here where my bars are, instead of all my bars went away, and then I had a satellite icon. Yep. So I don't really know what that's all about and what the capabilities of it are or anything, but I'm asking all these questions out of sincere interest, and I need to I need to up my game, not only from a navigation standpoint, also because my eTrex is shitting on me, but also because of the aforementioned, like I feel like, even though my wife, she really doesn't care, but I feel like she would be more settled if I did have that capability. And I think it would be better for both of us, you know. So
what are you going to start requiring, and at what point do you? I know you require it for rat. I get that, no, of course, but
I mean, there's no way for me to truly require it, because I can't. If somebody shows up that doesn't have one and it doesn't plan to use it,
sure, someone could say I've got one and they don't. But no, I was just curious. I didn't.
I mean, it's something. I mean, for anything Big Bend related, I consider it a requirement.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario of you don't have one, you have to buddy up with somebody that does. And if that comes to a fallback, then, like I said, I've got my inReach and I've got my spot. All right, you take my spot for this trip.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this, don't lean on that.
Yeah.
Because somebody else is going to take it before you.
Without naming names, we had 12 people in our group this weekend. Between the 5 of us and our specific group, we had 3 spot style devices.
2 Garmin's in one spot.
Yeah. And then with the other remaining 7 people, how many those guys had?
I believe there were 4.
Okay. I was just curious.
No, I understand.
So, okay. So this is literally like Smart Trainer is back of the back burner thing. Like, this is my next, like I said, this weekend, it became overly apparent that I need to think about these things if I'm going to continue to go out and do stuff like this. Not that I was ever worried about anything. I was lucky I didn't have any mechanicals. I didn't bonk. I didn't cramp. I didn't have any issues. I never ran out of water. Everything was as good as it could be. But I still, as I was digesting everything on the way home, and you guys were talking about, and you were talking about navigation and all this, and I was thinking, man, here I am just with an eTrex. Like, I'm very vulnerable in that situation if something was to happen to me and we got separated.
Yeah.
But I know we ride together so much. Our group of 5, there's always this, the second to last guy watches out for the last guy.
We can tell what someone's going through just by looking at them.
Yeah.
Like we read it. But not everyone, and that's the thing is, I think our level of experience is a little bit different than
we've been through the shit
than others. Well, I'm trying to say that in a polite way. We're not going to, I don't panic very often.
No,
rarely. One of the reasons why I don't panic is because I have this.
Yeah.
I sleep better at night knowing that I have this, that I can communicate it at some point. Anyway, we've gone on and on about it.
Yeah. Well, that is, I'm interested to pull up my laptop and dive into Garmin a little bit, because it's been something that I've just kind of kept my head down and ignored for a while. But like I said, coming back on this trip, I was just like, I need to up my navigation game a little bit, and I need to make sure I have a way, especially considering RAT next year. But actually, on the way up there, while I was there, Shannon and I started talking about, maybe I don't want to do RAT. Maybe I want to do the north to south route.
Tasha?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's going to be special.
Yeah. So, but I need to get something of that matter on my own, because I'm obviously not going to have a partner on something like that. And even if I did, I would want my own device anyways.
The one push, I would say, the Garmin, the inReach Messenger over the spot, is weather.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a big deal.
You don't want to do the RAT, and I damn sure don't want to do the Taster Trail without going to bed at night and looking, seeing what the weather's going to be the next morning. And with the Garmin, I can get a really detailed weather forecast in about 35 seconds. And it's very quick.
And it's good.
Incredibly accurate.
I think it's the best weather forecast.
How does it convey that? Like what are you looking at?
Your phone app.
Your phone app. There is a phone. Okay, so let's talk about this.
Yeah.
The Spot does not require a phone app to use.
Mm-hmm.
It requires a phone or a computer to set up to write in your customized pre-programmed messages that you can send out.
Now, is that one of your text messages that you use when you get the weather report?
Yeah, I can show you. Oh, I don't have the device here, but basically
No, you're missing my question.
Okay.
You said, like, on one plan, you're limited to 10 messages. On one plan, you're limited to 20. Does that count as one of your messages?
Yes. The weather counts as one of your messages.
And the detail... The detail of the message, I want to say, is
when they first came out with the messenger, the basic weather I think didn't count it. The basic didn't.
No,
but now it does.
Yeah, and so mine's not going to show. Mine's still showing from 450 miles away. Right. This was my last weather check-in in Terlingual, but.
Just to be clear, Spot doesn't. You can't do this with Spot. You can't get weather.
I think you can with their Spot X. I think the Spot X can give you weather.
But Spot's pretty much off the board as far as we're concerned at this point. Like it's
on the board if you need to be money conscious. Spot is a good option. It's a great option
if you're fine with just SOS capability.
But if you care about yourself and your loved ones, you go Garmin.
Weather's a little bit of a. I would put that in the category of having it's a little bit of a luxury.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have it, right? In this, it's good. I wouldn't do the route without being able to check the weather every single day and morning. But the SOS is the Spot is the bare bones. Mm-hmm. If you just want somebody to communicate.
Well, and if it's a position of it's all I can afford.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It will save your life.
It'll save your life.
Yeah.
That's all I'm getting at. Make no mistake, the Garmin's, it's going to be a lot more money. Year over year over year, one way or another, over the basic Spot functionality.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality, as much as I hate to admit it, is because as much as I want to beat up on Garmin, unfortunately, the extra money is worth it, I would say, for the vast majority of people that are listening to this podcast that are thinking about doing these type of adventures.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's highway robbery myself.
Yeah.
Garmin can hate me. They can,
Garmin doesn't even know who you are.
Well, all I'm getting at is, you know, like people keep bringing, well, just get sponsors to do this. Get sponsors. I can't talk sponsor friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say what's real.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to get sponsorship from any of these companies. In turn, I'm happy to say it's a very good product.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic product. Just from the specs of the product, I would recommend it to everybody.
Yeah.
I think it's way overpriced for what it does, but it's the only option.
$65 is for a month is. Even given what they give
My
you.
My Pornhub doesn't even cost that much.
I know, right?
It's crazy.
You pay for porn?
No, I'm kidding. Wait, you guys are paying for that? So you think Black Friday or Cyber Monday Garmin products are going to be...
There will be deals out there.
You think it's going to be less than 20% off of MSRP?
Less, it'll be more. Probably up to 30.
That's what I mean.
It'll be 30.
It'll probably be a better deal, but does that place still give the 20% off the sale price if it's a factory sale price?
I think that was you're talking about Expert Voice. I think it was an anomaly that I was able to snag, man. I think I would be surprised if that happens again.
I'm not familiar with the format, but
it
sounds like something I might need to look into for Club Spinistry.
That would be tremendous because that is almost like having a built-in sponsorship. Because part of Big Pig is we don't have a shop sponsor. You know, everybody kind of goes their own LBS. It's not like we ride for a shop. So
go Mad Duck, go Velo.
Yeah. So with Expert Voice though, we have access to, and it's not just cycling related stuff like Petzl's on there, Black Diamond, 510, I think.
If you're a Jeep Overlander guy, there's lots of Jeeps. I think Warren's on there too.
Yeah. Okay. Smith glasses, 100%. I think Pearl Izumi's even on there.
Mammoth's on there. Big Agnes is on there. Mountain Hardware is on there. Carhartt is no longer on there.
Oh, really?
It is no longer.
Huh. That's where I got these shorts.
They are cute on you.
Yeah, they make my ass look amazing.
Is that a spider fight going on in your legs? Look at all that hair.
But Expert Voices, I can't say enough good things about it. I buy a lot of stuff through there. In fact, I bought the footprint.
This episode sponsored by Expert
So one of the
Voice.
things they do have, some brands you just go on and you create an account and you can start shopping.
Yes.
Some make you do education on learning the project. So you have to actually watch videos or read websites and take a test.
Yeah,
I think I actually.
But it's incredibly you can't fail it. You get another chance at it. But it makes sense for them. They want you to know the product.
They want you to be an ambassador.
Sure,
that's the whole thing. Is they're trying to create ambassadorship for these products.
Makes all the sense in the world.
They want you to buy their stuff, get a good deal on it, and then talk good about it.
Personally, I do have a lot of ambassador deals with a lot of the companies you talked about. Some of them, have let me expand that to the club membership.
This seems like a perfect fit. I don't know why I haven't made this connection before. I'll take that. I feel...
I don't think you're responsible for my business decisions.
No, but I'd like to think that I try to be helpful, so...
We need to say goodbye to Caleb.
Oh, you got to go, buddy?
I got to get going. Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm going to miss you, but I'd love to watch you leave.
We are 2 hours and 10 minutes into this one.
Well, let's wrap this up.
Who's the long-winded one? I guess that's me.
We talked a lot about bikes today.
Mostly.
Like 94%.
Will you guys invite me back if you want to do baseball again?
Have you seen my baseball?
Go Rangers.